In the ancient texts of Ezekiel, written over 2,500 years ago, a chilling prophecy emerges from the shadows of time. A coalition of nations, led by a mysterious figure called Gog from the land of Magog, will descend upon Israel in a massive military campaign. For centuries, scholars debated whether this prophecy was symbolic, metaphorical, or literal. But today, as we witness unprecedented geopolitical shifts, many are asking, could this ancient alliance be forming right before our eyes? The prophecy is found in Ezekiel chapters 38 and 39, where the prophet describes a coalition that reads like a roster of modern Middle Eastern powers. Persia, modern-day Iran. Gomer and Beth Togarmah, regions associated with Turkey. And Magog itself, which many scholars have long identified with the territories north of Israel, potentially including modern Russia. What makes this prophecy remarkable isn't just that it named these nations. It's that for most of history, such an alliance seemed impossible. Yet in our lifetime, we're watching these exact nations draw closer together in ways that would have seemed unthinkable just decades ago. Let's examine what Ezekiel actually wrote. In chapter 38, God speaks through the prophet. Son of man, set your face against Gog, of the land of Magog, the chief prince of Meshech and Tubal. Prophesy against him. The text continues to list the coalition. Persia, Cush, and Put will be with them. Also Gomer with all its troops, and Beth Togarmah from the far. North with all its troops, the many nations with you. Biblical scholars have spent centuries trying to identify these ancient names with modern territories. Persia is straightforward. It's Iran, which was officially called Persia until 1935. Gomer and Beth Togarmah are associated with the region of modern Turkey. And Magog? The majority interpretation points to territories in the far north of Israel, lands that include modern-day Russia. But here's what's truly striking. The prophecy describes these nations coming together with a specific purpose: to attack Israel when it's dwelling in security, a land recovered from war, where people live in safety. Critics might say this is vague enough to apply to any era, but the convergence of these specific nations in this specific configuration, at a time when Israel exists as a modern state, that's unprecedented in history. Fast forward to today's geopolitical landscape. Iran, Russia, and Turkey, nations that share complex and often conflicting interests, have found themselves increasingly aligned, particularly regarding Middle Eastern affairs. The Syrian civil war became the crucible that forged these unlikely partnerships. Russia, seeking to maintain its Mediterranean naval base and regional influence, intervened militarily in 2015. Iran, pursuing its Shia Crescent strategy, deployed forces and proxies to support the Assad regime. And Turkey, despite being a NATO member, found itself coordinating with these powers through the Astana peace process. What emerged was the Astana format: regular trilateral meetings between Russia, Iran, and Turkey to coordinate policy in Syria. These weren't just diplomatic pleasantries. These were substantive discussions about military coordination, territorial control, and strategic interests. The three nations that many identify with Ezekiel's prophecy were literally sitting at the same table, planning joint operations. But Syria is just one theater. The relationships have deepened economically and militarily across multiple fronts. Russia has sold advanced S-400 missile defense systems to Turkey, despite Turkey's NATO membership. Iran and Russia have increased bilateral trade and military cooperation. Turkey has sought to balance its Western alliances with new Eastern partnerships. Before we continue, if you're finding this deep dive into biblical prophecy and current events as fascinating as we do, make sure you're subscribed to Prophetic Chronicles. We're constantly analyzing how ancient prophecies align with modern headlines, and we don't want you to miss a single revelation. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you'll be alerted the moment we release new content. The prophetic timeline is unfolding rapidly, and Prophetic Chronicles is your guide through these extraordinary times. Now, let's get back to the alliance that's forming before our eyes. What's driving these nations together? The answer is complex, but several factors stand out. First, there's a shared opposition to American hegemony in the Middle East. Russia seeks to reclaim superpower status. Iran wants to break free from decades of sanctions and isolation. Turkey aspires to regional leadership independent of Western influence. All three see their interests as diverging from U.S. policy in the region. Second, there's the Israel factor. While Turkey has maintained diplomatic relations with Israel, the relationship has been fraught with tension. Iran has been openly hostile to Israel's existence since the Islamic Revolution of 1979. Russia, while maintaining pragmatic ties with Israel, has found itself increasingly opposed to Israeli interests in Syria and the broader region. Third, economic necessity is creating bonds. Russia needs markets for its energy exports and military hardware. Iran, suffocating under sanctions, needs partners willing to defy Western pressure. Turkey, facing economic challenges, needs alternatives to traditional Western economic relationships. The prophecy in Ezekiel describes the invasion force thinking, "I will invade a land of unwalled villages. I will attack a peaceful and unsuspecting people. I will plunder and loot and turn my hand against the resettled ruins and the people gathered from the nations, rich in livestock and goods, living at the center of the land." Does this sound familiar? Israel today is often described as an island of prosperity in a turbulent region. Its technological prowess, military strength, and recent natural gas discoveries have made it wealthy beyond measure. The recent Abraham Accords, normalizing relations with several Arab states, have created a situation where Israel is increasingly integrated economically, while still facing existential threats from Iran and its proxies. Of course, prophecy interpretation requires careful handling. Throughout history, countless predictions about end times have come and gone. The year 1000 AD, the Reformation era, both world wars, each generation has seen signs they believed pointed to imminent fulfillment of biblical prophecy. What makes this moment different? Skeptics would say nothing. It's the same pattern-seeking behavior humans have always exhibited. But those who study biblical prophecy point to several unique factors. First, the existence of modern Israel itself. For nearly 2,000 years, there was no Jewish state. The prophecies in Ezekiel specifically mention Israel as a nation regathered from many countries. This only became possible after 1948. Second, the specific alignment of these nations is historically unprecedented. Iran, Russia, and Turkey have had different relationships throughout history, but never before have they aligned so closely, while simultaneously opposing Israel's interests. Third, other prophetic elements seem to be converging. Israel's control of Jerusalem, the possibility of a rebuilt temple, the integration of Israel into the global economy, and the isolation of these specific nations from Western power structures. If we're truly witnessing the formation of the alliance Ezekiel prophesied, what should we expect? According to the text, this coalition will ultimately launch an invasion of Israel, what's called the Battle of Gog and Magog. But here's the twist. The prophecy says this invasion will fail catastrophically. God himself is described as intervening with earthquakes, disease, torrential rain, hailstones, fire, and burning sulfur. The prophecy states that the invading forces will be destroyed so thoroughly that it will take 7 months to bury the dead and 7 years to burn the weapons. Whether this is literal or symbolic, the message is clear. This alliance, despite its power, is doomed to fail. So are we truly witnessing the formation of the end times alliance the Bible warned us about? The honest answer is that we cannot know with certainty. Prophecy interpretation has humbled countless confident predictions throughout history. What we can say is this: the alignment of nations described in Ezekiel 38 and 39 has never been more clearly visible than it is today. Iran, Russia, and Turkey are cooperating in ways that would have seemed impossible just a generation ago. Their interests are converging. Their military coordination is deepening, and their collective posture toward Israel grows more concerning. Whether this is the fulfillment of ancient prophecy or simply a temporary geopolitical alignment, these developments demand our attention. The next chapters of this story will be written not in ancient texts, but in tomorrow's headlines. The question isn't just whether the prophecy is being fulfilled, it's whether we're paying attention. Thank you for watching Prophetic Chronicles. If this investigation into biblical prophecy and current events has opened your eyes to the signs of our times, please subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. Share this video with friends and family who need to understand what's happening in our world today. Join our growing community of watchful believers who are tracking the fulfillment of ancient prophecies in real time. Check out our other videos where we explore the mark of the beast and digital currency, the rebuilding of the Third Temple, and the identity of the Antichrist in modern geopolitics. Leave a comment below telling us what prophetic topics you want us to investigate next. Remember, we're living in unprecedented times. Stay vigilant, stay informed, stay subscribed to Prophetic Chronicles. Until next time, keep watching.